In the late 19th century, the world was entering a new age of steel, steam, and dreams that touched the ocean itself. It was the time of inventors and explorers, when men believed he could conquer anything, even nature. But amid this era of confidence, one man saw something different. His name was Morgan Robertson, an author, quiet and thoughtful, who often wrote stories inspired by the sea. He had sailed before, knew the waves, the storms, and the arrogance of men who built ships too proud to fail. In 1898, 14 years before the Titanic would ever touch the water, Robertson sat down at his desk and began writing a novel. He called it Futility, the Wreck of the Titan. It was a story about the largest ship ever built. A ship called Titan. The Titan was deemed unsinkable. It carried the richest passengers of its time. And one cold April night, on its maiden voyage, it struck an iceberg in the North Atlantic and sank, with massive loss of life, because there weren't enough lifeboats. Sound familiar? It should, because that's exactly what would happen to the Titanic, 14 years later. The details are almost impossible to ignore. In Robertson's novel, the Titan was 800 feet long. The Titanic? 882 feet. Both could travel at around 25 knots. Both carried about 3,000 passengers. And both met their end in April, in the freezing waters of the North Atlantic. The similarities didn't stop there. Even the arrogance was the same. In his story, the builders of the Titan boasted that God himself could not sink this ship. And in 1912, that very phrase would echo again, this time in real life, about the Titanic. When the Titanic sank, newspapers were flooded with letters, questions, and disbelief. People began searching for Morgan Robertson's book. They wanted to know how one man had written, in such uncanny detail, a tragedy that hadn't happened yet. Some said it was coincidence. Others called him a prophet. And many wondered if there was something deeper, a warning that no one listened to. Robertson himself was bewildered by the attention. He denied having any supernatural vision. He said he simply understood the hubris of men, that when humans build with pride, they often forget humility. He had written his book, he said, as a warning. But no one took it seriously. The Titanic story became one of the greatest tragedies of the modern world. But Robertson's story, the story of the men who saw it coming, became something else entirely. A reminder that sometimes, history whispers before it screams. Over a century later, readers still pick up Futility and shiver as they turn its pages. The parallels are so haunting, it's as if time itself tried to warn humanity, and humanity, as always, refused to listen. Morgan Robertson died in 1915, 3 years after the Titanic sank. He never profited from his eerie prediction, never sought fame, and never explained how he could have foreseen such a disaster. But perhaps he didn't need to. Maybe he was just a man who looked too closely at human nature, and saw where it was heading. Because the story of the Titan and the Titanic isn't just about a ship that sank. It's about the price of arrogance. The illusion of control. And the truth that no matter how advanced we become, the ocean will always remind us who's really in charge. So when you think of the Titanic, remember also the men who dreamed it before it was real. The men who, through fiction, told the world what would happen. And still, no one listened.